The morning light from Kepler 442b's twin suns streamed through the massive windows of Nexus Prime. The space station floated in perfect orbit around the neutral world below. Inside the main meeting hall, 12 different alien species sat around a circular table. They were here for their monthly Galactic Council meeting. Ambassador Veltar adjusted his purple robes and looked at his notes. The tall, thin Xanthari had been coming to these meetings for 20 years. Today felt like any other day. They would talk about trade routes, argue about mining rights, and maybe discuss a few border disputes. Nothing exciting ever happened at council meetings. The trade agreement with the Mollusk Collective is ready for vote, announced Prime Counselor Yethron. The ancient being's voice echoed through the chamber like wind through crystals. The ethereal collective had run these meetings for centuries. Counselor Thexari waved 3 of her tentacles in the air. Her wet gray skin glistened under the chamber lights. My people want better prices for rare metals. The current rates are too low. Several other counselors started talking at once. Veltar sighed and leaned back in his chair. This was going to take hours. The same arguments, the same complaints, the same boring solutions. Then the alarms started screaming. Red lights flashed throughout the chamber. The counselors jumped from their seats, looking around in confusion. The alarm system hadn't gone off in over 50 years. What could be wrong? "Attention all council members," came a voice over the speakers. "Unknown vessel approaching the station. They are requesting emergency docking permission." Veltar frowned. Unknown vessels didn't just appear near Nexus Prime. The station was in the middle of neutral space, protected by defense satellites and patrol ships. Nothing could get close without being detected hours in advance. "Put them on screen," ordered Prime Counselor Yethron. The large display wall lit up, showing the space around their station. At first, Veltar saw nothing unusual, just stars and the planet below. Then something moved in the darkness. A ship emerged from behind one of the station's solar collectors. Veltar's breath caught in his throat. The vessel was like nothing he had ever seen before. It was long and sleek, with sharp angles and smooth curves. Dark metal gleamed under the station's lights. Strange symbols were painted along its hull. But what really shocked him were the weapons. The ship bristled with gun turrets, missile pods, and energy cannons. Most civilian vessels had maybe 1 or 2 defensive weapons. This thing looked like it could take on a whole fleet. "Identification," demanded the station's traffic controller. "State your species and purpose." A new voice came through the speakers. It was calm and clear, speaking perfect galactic standard. "This is Captain Hyunwoo of the human warship Soul's Thunder. We request immediate docking for diplomatic purposes." The chamber fell silent. Veltar stared at the screen in disbelief. Human? That was impossible. Humans were primitive creatures trapped in their own solar system. The Council had put up a blockade around their star system 50 years ago to keep them contained. They barely had nuclear weapons back then. "There must be some mistake," whispered Counselor Mirandar. The crystal being's faceted face reflected the alarm lights. "Humans cannot travel between stars." But the ship on the screen was real. It hung in space like a predator, waiting for permission to dock. Energy readings showed power levels that made Veltar nervous. This was not a primitive vessel. "Run a scan," ordered Yethron. The station's sensors focused on the human ship. Data flooded the screens around the chamber. Veltar read the numbers and felt cold fear creep up his spine. The ship was huge, almost as large as a Council battlecruiser. Its shields were stronger than anything in their fleet. The weapon signatures didn't match any known technology. "How is this possible?" muttered Thexari. Her tentacles writhed with worry. "The containment satellites should have stopped them." Captain Hyunwoo's voice came through the speakers again. "Council members, we understand your confusion. We come in peace and carry urgent information for your consideration. May we dock?" Veltar looked around the chamber. Every counselor seemed frozen with shock. They had spent decades thinking humans were barely more advanced than animals. Now one of their warships was asking politely to visit. "The containment system," said Counselor Drixon, his insect-like head twitching. "Check the containment system around their home star." A technician's voice filled the chamber. "Sir, we're detecting multiple human vessels throughout that sector. The containment satellites appear to be offline." Offline. Veltar felt his legs go weak. Those satellites had been the most advanced technology the Council possessed. They were supposed to last for thousands of years. How had primitive humans disabled them? "We should refuse docking," said Mirandar. "This could be a trap." "With respect," came Captain Hyunwoo's voice. "If we wanted to cause harm, we would not have asked permission. We are here to help." Yethron looked at each counselor in turn. The ancient being's energy form flickered with uncertainty. Finally, he spoke. "Docking Bay 7 is being prepared. You may board with a small diplomatic team only." "Thank you, Prime Counselor. We will dock in 15 minutes. The screen went dark. The chamber erupted in panicked voices. Some counselors wanted to call their home fleets. Others suggested evacuating the station. Veltar just sat and watched the human ship move toward their docking bay. 20 minutes later, the docking bay doors opened. Captain Hyunwoo stepped onto Nexus Prime, followed by 2 other humans. The captain was a man of average height with short black hair and calm dark eyes. He wore a simple blue uniform with no decorations except for his rank insignia. Behind him walked a woman with long black hair tied back neatly. Her uniform was gray and she carried a diplomatic case. The third human was clearly military, with broad shoulders and alert eyes that seemed to see everything at once. They walked through the corridors without fear, even though they were surrounded by beings much larger than themselves. Station security guards towered over the humans, but the 3 visitors seemed completely relaxed. Word spread quickly through the station. Humans had arrived, real humans from Earth, walking freely through their halls. Crew members stopped their work to stare. Some had never seen a human before. Captain Hyunwoo stopped in front of the council chambers. The massive doors were designed to impress visitors with their size and weight. The human looked up at them and smiled slightly. "Ready?" he asked his companions in their own language. The woman nodded. "Let's show them what humanity has become, Captain." The doors opened and the 3 humans walked into the chamber where 12 species waited to learn how their galaxy had changed forever. Captain Hyunwoo walked to the center of the council chamber and bowed slightly. His 2 companions flanked him on either side. The woman opened her diplomatic case while the military officer kept his hands behind his back, eyes scanning the room. "Honored members of the Galactic Council," Hyunwoo began, his voice carrying easily through the large chamber. "I am Captain Hyunwoo of the Earth Defense Fleet. This is my diplomatic attaché Nari, and my security chief Tai-min." Veltar studied the 3 humans carefully. They looked so small compared to most species in the chamber, yet they showed no fear. If anything, they seemed completely confident, as if they belonged here. "Captain," interrupted Yethron, "before we proceed, you must explain how you are here. Our records show that humans were contained within their solar system by advanced defense satellites." Hyunwoo nodded. "We discovered the satellites within 6 months of achieving nuclear fusion. Rather than trying to break through them, we decided to study them." Counselor Thexari's tentacles waved dismissively. "Impossible. Those satellites use quantum encryption and gravitational field manipulation. Your species barely understands atomic energy." Nari stepped forward and reached into her case. She pulled out a small device about the size of a book. It was made of the same dark metal as their ship, with strange markings along its surface. "This is the central processor from satellite number 47, she said calmly. "We removed it during our initial study 30 years ago." The chamber erupted in shocked voices. Veltar felt his heart skip a beat. Those satellites were supposed to be untouchable, protected by shields that could stop a battle cruiser. "You destroyed our containment system?" demanded Mirandar, her crystal body flashing with anger. "We didn't destroy it," Hyunwoo replied. "We improved it. The original design had several flaws that made it inefficient. We fixed those problems and built better versions." Tai-min activated a holographic projector. Images filled the air above the council table. Veltar saw star charts showing the human solar system. But instead of the empty space he expected, there were dozens of ships, space stations, and mining platforms. "While you thought we were trapped," Tai-min explained, "we were building. We now have colonies in 17 star systems, mining operations on 43 worlds, and trade agreements with 3 species you've never met." The hologram changed to show human ships moving between stars. They were sleek and fast, nothing like the bulky vessels most species used. Some were huge cargo haulers loaded with resources. Others were clearly warships bristling with weapons. "This is a lie," said Counselor Drixon, his insect wings buzzing with agitation. "We would have detected large-scale expansion." Nari smiled politely. "Your long-range sensors are quite good, but they look for specific energy signatures and communication patterns. We simply use different technologies that don't show up on your scans." She activated another hologram. This one showed a detailed breakdown of human technology, faster than light drives that used quantum tunneling instead of space folding, communication systems based on entangled particles, weapons that fired concentrated gravity waves. Veltar felt dizzy looking at the data. Some of these concepts were completely new to him. Others were theories that council scientists had been working on for centuries without success. "How did you develop all this so quickly?" he asked. Hyunwoo looked at him directly. "We had the best teachers in the galaxy. Every piece of technology you used against us we learned from and improved upon. The containment satellites taught us about quantum mechanics. Your patrol ships showed us better engine designs. Your own tools became our school." The captain's words hit Veltar like a cold wave. They had tried to cage humanity, but instead had given them a complete education in advanced technology. The humans had turned their prison into a university. "But why reveal yourselves now?" asked Yethrun. "If you've been free for decades, why come to us?" The mood in the chamber changed instantly. Hyunwoo's relaxed expression became serious. Nari closed her diplomatic case and stepped back. Taemin's hand moved slightly closer to his sidearm. "Because something is coming," Hyunwoo said quietly. "Something that threatens every living being in this galaxy." New holograms appeared in the air. These were different from the earlier displays. They showed dark, twisted ships that seemed to be made of metal and flesh combined. The vessels were huge, larger than anything Veltar had ever seen. "Our long-range scouts detected massive fleets gathering at the galaxy's edge," continued Hyunwoo. "They've been systematically destroying colonies and harvesting entire worlds. We've designated them as devourers because they consume everything in their path." One hologram showed the remains of a destroyed planet. Where there should have been continents and oceans, there was only empty space and floating debris. Whatever had attacked this world had taken everything, even the planet's core. "These images are from the Kepler 186 system," Nari added. "It was home to 3 billion Aquatic Union members. Now there's nothing left but dust." Several counselors gasped. The Aquatic Union had colonies throughout that sector, but they had lost contact with several worlds recently. The council had assumed it was communication problems. "How do you know about this?" demanded Veltar. "The Aquatic Union never reported these attacks." "Because there were no survivors to report anything," Taemin said grimly. "These devourers don't take prisoners. They don't negotiate. They simply consume everything organic and mineral, then move to the next target." The hologram changed to show star charts with red markers indicating destroyed systems. Veltar counted at least 20 marks, scattered across the outer edge of the galaxy. "This pattern suggests they're working their way inward," Hyunwoo explained. "At their current rate of expansion, they'll reach council space within 2 years. The chamber fell silent. Veltar looked around at his fellow counselors and saw fear in their eyes. If these devourers were real, if they could destroy entire worlds, then no one was safe. "What do you propose?" asked Yethrun finally. "Alliance," Hyunwoo said simply. "Humanity has been preparing for this threat for 3 years. We've developed new weapons and tactics specifically designed to fight these creatures, but we can't defend the entire galaxy alone." Counselor Mirandar stood up, her crystal body reflecting the red alarm lights that were still flashing. "Why should we trust you? You've been lying to us for decades." "We haven't lied," Nari replied calmly. "We simply didn't announce our presence. There's a difference between deception and privacy. Besides," added Taemin, "if we wanted to conquer you, we would have done it years ago. We're here because extinction threatens us all." Hyunwoo stepped forward. "Counselors, I understand your shock and suspicion. 50 years ago, you made a decision about humanity based on incomplete information. Now I'm asking you to make a new decision based on complete honesty." He gestured to the hologram still floating in the air. "These devourers are coming whether we work together or not. Separately, we might delay them. Together, we might stop them." Veltar looked at the human captain and realized something important. This wasn't just about military alliance. Humanity was offering to protect the same species that had tried to imprison them. They were offering forgiveness and cooperation instead of revenge. The question now was whether the council was wise enough to accept. Nari activated her portable projector again. The new hologram showed something that made Veltar's skin crawl. Massive ships that looked like someone had crossed metal warships with living creatures floated in space. They had organic curves mixed with mechanical angles. Strange tentacles hung from their hulls like the arms of deep-sea monsters. "These are the devourers," Nari said. her voice steady despite the horrible images. Our first contact with them was 3 years ago when they attacked the human colony on Proxima 7. The hologram changed to show a beautiful world with blue oceans and green continents. Then the image shifted and Veltar watched in horror as the Devourer ships surrounded the planet. Beams of sickly yellow light shot down from the vessels, and wherever the beams touched, everything simply disappeared. They don't just destroy, Captain Hyunwoo explained. They consume. They take every living thing, every mineral, every drop of water. They turn it all into materials for building more ships. Counselor Thexari's tentacles curled with disgust. How many of your people lived on that world? 2 million colonists, Hyunwoo replied quietly. We evacuated 400,000 before the Devourers arrived. The rest... He didn't finish the sentence. Taemin stepped forward and activated another display. This one showed combat footage from space battles. Human ships engaged the Devourer fleet in desperate fighting above dying worlds. We've been fighting them ever since, Taemin said. Every human world near the galactic edge has been evacuated. Our entire species is now on a war footing. Veltar watched the battle recordings with growing amazement. The human ships moved like wolves hunting in packs. They coordinated their attacks with precision that took his breath away. When Devourer vessels tried to surround them, the humans would split apart, attack from different angles, then regroup instantly. Your tactics are impressive, he admitted. But how do you defeat ships that large? The hologram zoomed in on a single engagement. A human destroyer, tiny compared to a Devourer battleship, darted around the massive enemy vessel like an angry insect. Its weapons fired in carefully timed bursts, targeting specific points on the alien hull. We discovered that their biomechanical nature is also their weakness, Hyunwoo explained. They have nerve centers that control their organic functions. Hit the right spots and even their biggest ships become helpless. But this requires incredible precision, observed Counselor Drixon. One mistake and your small ships would be destroyed. That's why we developed new training methods, said Nari. She activated yet another hologram showing human pilots in simulation chambers. Every human fighter pilot trains against Devourer tactics for 6 months before their first real battle. A new voice suddenly filled the chamber. Captain, we have an urgent message from Admiral Won-sik. Hyunwoo touched a device on his wrist. Put him through. The main display screen lit up, showing the bridge of a human command ship. A stern-faced man in a dark blue uniform appeared. Behind him, Veltar could see other humans working at control stations. Captain Hyunwoo, the Admiral said, I'm afraid I have bad news. 3 more systems have gone dark in the last 6 hours. The Devourers are moving faster than we predicted. The council chamber erupted in worried voices. 3 systems in 6 hours meant billions of lives lost. Veltar felt sick thinking about it. Which systems? Asked Hyunwoo. Kepler 442c, Ross 128, and Wolf 359b, replied Admiral Won-sik. All aquatic Union colonies. Our rescue fleets arrived too late. Nothing left but debris fields. Counselor Mirandar stood up so quickly that her crystal body rang like a bell. The Wolf system had 4 billion inhabitants. Had, corrected the Admiral grimly. Now it has none. The Devourers stripped the planets down to their cores in less than 12 hours. Prime Counselor Yethron's energy form flickered with distress. Admiral, what are your current fleet positions? We have battle groups protecting the remaining human colonies and refugee centers. But we can't be everywhere at once. The Devourer advance fleets are spreading out, hitting multiple targets simultaneously. Taemin pointed to a tactical display showing ship movements. This is why we need alliance. Human forces can't cover the entire galactic rim. We need coordinated defense. Admiral Won-sik nodded. If the Council authorizes joint operations, I can position human battle groups near your outer colonies. But I need permission to operate in Council space. Veltar looked around the chamber. Every counselor seemed frozen with the reality of what they faced. This wasn't a distant threat anymore. The Devourers were actively destroying worlds while they sat here debating. Admiral, said Counselor Thexari, what happens if we refuse alliance? What will humanity do? The Admiral's expression didn't change. We'll continue fighting, Counselor. We'll protect as many worlds as we can reach, Council member or not. But our resources are limited. Hyunwoo stepped closer to the display. Admiral, show them the Xi'an engagement. The screen changed to show another battle recording. This time, human ships were protecting a world that clearly wasn't human. The planet below had the purple atmosphere that Veltar recognized as belonging to the Mollusk Collective. This was 2 weeks ago, explained Hyunwoo. The Devourers attacked a mollusk colony world. Our nearest battle group was 4 hours away, but we responded anyway. In the recording, 12 human warships faced off against 30 Devourer vessels. The odds were terrible, but the humans fought with desperate courage. They drew the enemy away from the planet, giving evacuation ships time to escape. "We saved 6 million mollusk civilians," said Admiral Wansick, "but we lost 4 ships and 300 crew members doing it." The chamber fell silent. Veltar felt ashamed. Humanity was already protecting council species without any official agreement. They were dying to save people who had imprisoned them for 50 years. "The Sion colony wasn't even strategically important," added Nari quietly. "We defended it because it was the right thing to do." Councillor Drixon buzzed his wings nervously. "What about our own fleets? Surely our combined military forces can handle this threat." Taemin shook his head. "With respect, Councillor, your fleets use traditional tactics against conventional enemies. The Devourers are neither traditional nor conventional." He activated a simulation showing Council warships attempting to engage Devourer forces. The results were devastating. The alien ships overwhelmed the Council vessels with their superior size and strange weapons. "Your ships are designed for fighting other civilized species," Hyunwoo explained. "Rules of engagement, surrender protocols, concern for civilian casualties. The Devourers don't follow any rules." "But surely our combined numbers," began Mirandar. "Numbers won't help if your tactics are wrong," interrupted Admiral Wansick. "We've watched Devourer fleets destroy forces 3 times their size because the defenders couldn't adapt fast enough." A new alarm started sounding throughout the station. Emergency lights flashed amber instead of red. Veltar knew that signal meant incoming refugee ships. "Admiral," called a voice from the Admiral's bridge, "we're receiving distress calls from the Kepler 438 system. Massive Devourer fleet incoming. They're requesting immediate evacuation support." Admiral Wansick looked directly at the Council through the screen. "That system has 12 billion inhabitants across 4 worlds. If we respond with just human ships, we might save half of them. With Council fleet support, we could save them all." "How long do we have?" asked Yethron. 6 hours until the Devourers reach the outer planets. 18 hours until they reach the main population centers." Veltar realized they were out of time for debate. Real people were about to die while they argued about politics and pride. Captain Hyunwoo seemed to read his thoughts. "Counselors, I know this is difficult. We're asking you to trust a species you thought was primitive, but those beings in Kepler 438 can't wait for perfect solutions." The chamber fell quiet except for the soft humming of the station's systems. 12 species had to decide the fate of billions of lives, and they had to decide now. Prime Counselor Yethron's energy form pulsed with urgent light. "I call for emergency session. All counselors will vote on immediate military alliance with humanity." The chamber split instantly into arguing groups. Veltar watched as species that had worked together for centuries suddenly found themselves on opposite sides of the most important decision in galactic history. "This is madness," declared Counselor Mirandar, her crystal body flashing angry red. "We cannot hand over military command to a species that has been deceiving us for decades." "They haven't deceived us," Veltar said, standing up from his chair. "They've been preparing to defend us while we sat here arguing about trade routes." Counselor Drixon's wings buzzed with agitation. "But what if this is all part of their plan? What if they created these Devourers as an excuse for invasion?" Taemin's jaw tightened, but his voice remained calm. "Counselor, with respect, if humanity wanted to invade, we wouldn't need an excuse. We've had superior military technology for years." Captain Hyunwoo stepped forward. "May I address the Council's concerns directly?" Yethron nodded. "Speak, Captain." "I understand your suspicion," Hyunwoo began. 50 years ago, you saw humanity as a threat and decided to contain us. You made that decision based on fear of what we might become." He gestured to the tactical displays still floating in the air. "Now you see what we did become. We could have broken free and conquered your worlds decades ago. Instead, we built a civilization dedicated to exploration and protection." Nari activated her projector once more. New images appeared showing human colonies. Instead of military bases and weapons factories, Veltar saw cities with parks and schools. Space stations where multiple species worked together. Ships marked with medical symbols carrying supplies to disaster areas. "These are our worlds," Nari explained. "We've spent 50 years building a society focused on helping others." Even the 3 species we've made contact with were initially hostile to us. The images changed to show alien beings working alongside humans. They weren't conquered slaves or subjugated populations. They were clearly partners, equals in whatever projects they were working on. The Karathi tried to destroy our first colony ship. Hyunwoo continued. We defended ourselves, then offered them medical aid when their own plague struck. The Veldani attacked our mining stations. We drove them off, then shared our mining technology when they asked for help. Counselor Thexari waved her tentacles thoughtfully. Why should we believe you would treat us differently? Because you already have proof, said Taemin. He pointed to Admiral Wansik on the main screen. Admiral, please show the Xi'an rescue operation again. The battle recording played once more. Feltar watched human ships throwing themselves between the Devourers and a mollusk world. They fought against overwhelming odds to protect people who weren't even their allies. We lost good people saving those colonists, Admiral Wansik said quietly. Captain So Young died when her ship's reactor overloaded. Lieutenant Minho and his entire fighter squadron were lost covering the evacuation transports. They died protecting strangers who belonged to a government that had tried to imprison their species. The Admiral's words hit Veltar like a physical blow. These humans had sacrificed their lives for mollusk civilians without hesitation, without reward, without even recognition. But there's something else you need to see, continued Wansik. The screen changed to show a different kind of ship. It was clearly of human design, but much larger than their warships. Instead of weapons, it carried massive cargo bays and medical facilities. This is the hospital ship Mercy. Right now, it's treating 40,000 refugees from destroyed worlds, species from across the galaxy, including several council members. The camera view switched to show the ship's interior. Veltar saw human doctors and nurses working alongside alien medical staff. They were treating beings from dozens of different species, all victims of devourer attacks. Human medic Daun has been working for 36 hours straight, treating Crystalline Federation survivors. Wansik continued. Engineer Jae Sung modified our life support systems to accommodate 17 different atmospheric requirements. They're not doing this for political gain. They're doing it because it's right. A new voice suddenly interrupted. Incoming priority transmission from Kepler 438. The main screen split to show a desperate-looking alien commander. Veltar recognized the species as Aquatic Union, with their blue-green skin and gill slits along their neck. This is Admiral Reeftar of the Kepler 438 Defense Force, the alien said, his voice filled with panic. Devourer scouts have entered our system. We're beginning full evacuation, but we don't have enough ships. We need immediate assistance. Behind the Admiral, Veltar could see other Aquatic Union officers running between control stations. Alarm lights were flashing and he could hear evacuation warnings in the background. How much time do you have? Asked Admiral Wansik. The main fleet will arrive in 4 hours, Reeftar replied. We can evacuate maybe 3 billion people with our own ships. The rest, he didn't finish the sentence. Counselor Drixon's wings stopped buzzing. 9 billion people, he whispered. Mirandar's crystal body had turned pale white. We can't let them die while we debate politics. Then vote, said Hyunwoo simply. If the Council authorizes joint military operations, Admiral Wansik can coordinate a rescue mission with your fleets. If not, humanity will do what we can alone. Yethran looked around the chamber. All in favor of immediate military alliance with humanity. Veltar raised his hand without hesitation. So did Thexari and 3 others. That was only 5 votes out of 12. All opposed? Mirandar raised her arm, followed by 2 others. 3 votes against. Abstaining? 4 councillors remained silent, including Drixon. The motion fails, Yethran announced sadly. 7 votes required for emergency authorization. Admiral Wansik's expression didn't change. Understood. We'll deploy our available forces to Kepler 438 immediately. Wait, called Councillor Drixon suddenly. Admiral, what are your chances of success without Council support? Honestly? We might save 4 billion people if everything goes perfectly. More likely 3 billion. And with Council fleet support, we could evacuate everyone with time to spare. Drixon stood up, his insect legs clicking on the floor. I change my vote to yes. 6 votes in favor. Same here, said another abstaining councillor. 7 votes. Yethran's energy form blazed brighter. The motion passes. Admiral Wansik, you are authorized to coordinate joint operations with all Council fleets. Thank you, councillors, Wansik replied. Captain Hyunwoo, I'm giving you field command of the rescue operation. Get to your ship. Hyunwoo bowed to the council. We won't let you down. As the three humans hurried toward the exit, Veltar called after them. Captain. Hyunwoo stopped and turned back. Good hunting, Veltar said simply. The human captain smiled. Thank you, Ambassador. Today we fight together. The chamber doors closed behind them and Veltar realized that the galaxy had just changed forever. For the first time in Council history, they had voted to trust a species they had once tried to imprison. Now they would find out if that trust was justified. 2 hours later, the space around Nexus Prime filled with ships. Veltar watched from the observation deck as vessel after vessel emerged from hyperspace. Council fleets that had never worked together before were gathering under human command. The sight took his breath away. Xanthari battlecruisers with their elegant purple hulls flew in formation with blocky mollusk carriers. Crystalline Federation destroyers, their translucent armor gleaming, moved alongside sleek aquatic Union frigates. Even the mysterious ethereal collective had sent 3 of their energy-based vessels, but the most impressive sight was the human fleet itself. By the ancient lights, whispered Counselor Thexari, who had come to watch the assembly. How many ships do they have? Veltar counted carefully. Over 200 human vessels floated in perfect formation. They ranged from massive carriers that dwarfed Council battleships to tiny fighters that darted between the larger ships like silver fish. Admiral Wansik's flagship, the Soul's Pride, dominated the center of the formation. It was a magnificent vessel, longer than 3 Council cruisers placed end to end. Its dark hull bristled with weapons that Veltar couldn't identify. All fleet commanders, this is Admiral Wansik, came the announcement over the station's speakers. We are proceeding to Kepler 438 immediately. Human tactical coordinators are being assigned to each Council ship. Through the observation deck windows, Veltar watched small human shuttles racing between the alien vessels. The humans were moving fast, but they weren't rushing. Every action seemed planned and purposeful. Attention, Nexus Prime, came Captain Hyunwoo's voice. Soul's Thunder is ready to depart. Veltar looked for the human captain's ship and found it near the front of the formation. Even among the impressive fleet, Soul's Thunder stood out. Its weapons were fully charged and energy fields flickered around its hull like armor made of light. All ships report ready, announced Admiral Wansik. Jump in 30 seconds. The massive fleet began moving as one unit. Hundreds of different ships from dozens of species, all coordinated by human battle computers. Veltar had never seen anything like it. Jumping now. Space twisted, and the entire fleet vanished into hyperspace. 4 hours later, they arrived at Kepler 438. What they found there made Veltar's hearts race with fear. The Devourer fleet was massive. Over 300 of the biomechanical ships hung in space like a swarm of metal insects. They had already begun their attack on the outer planets. Sickly yellow beams reached down from orbit, consuming everything they touched. All ships, this is Admiral Wansik. Execute Rescue Protocol 7. The combined fleet spread out instantly. Council evacuation ships raced toward the populated worlds while human warships moved to engage the Devourer vessels. The coordination was perfect, as if they had been training together for years. Veltar watched the battle unfold on the tactical displays in Nexus Prime's command center. The humans had given each Council species specific tasks that matched their strengths. Mollusk ships with their superior shields formed protective barriers around evacuation transports. Crystalline Federation vessels used their advanced sensors to locate hidden Devourer forces, but it was the human combat tactics that truly amazed him. Soul's Thunder to all human vessels, came Captain Hyunwoo's voice. Execute Wolfpack formation. Target their command ships first. 20 human destroyers suddenly broke from the main formation and dove toward the largest Devourer vessels. They moved like predators, coordinating their attacks through rapid communication bursts. The Devourers tried to respond, but their massive ships were too slow. The human vessels darted around them, striking at weak points with surgical precision. When the aliens tried to concentrate their fire, the humans would scatter, then regroup somewhere else. Direct hit on Devourer command vessel, reported Taemin from Soul's Thunder. Their coordination is breaking down. The effect was immediate. The Devourer fleet, which had been moving as one coordinated force, suddenly became confused. Ships collided with each other as their formation fell apart. All Council vessels advance, ordered Admiral Wansik. Protect the evacuation ships. The alien warships moved forward with new confidence. With the Devourer coordination disrupted, the Council ships could use their superior numbers effectively. Evacuation update. Came a report from the planet's surface. 7 billion civilians successfully evacuated. 3 billion remaining on primary world. Veltar felt hope rising in his chest. They were actually succeeding. The impossible rescue mission was working, but then the tactical display showed something that made his blood run cold. More Devourer ships were arriving, hundreds of them, pouring out of hyperspace like a dark flood. New contacts, announced a sensor operator. Devourer reinforcement fleet. 400 vessels and climbing. The odds had just become impossible. Even with their tactical advantages, the combined fleet couldn't fight that many enemies while protecting evacuation ships. All Council vessels. Prepare to withdraw, ordered Admiral Wansik. We'll cover your retreat. Negative, came an unexpected voice. It was Admiral Reeftar from the Aquatic Union Defense Force. My people are still on that planet. We're not leaving. Same here, added a Crystalline Federation commander. We fight together or not at all. One by one, every Council fleet commander refused the withdrawal order. They had come to save lives, and they weren't leaving until the job was done. Admiral Wansik was quiet for a long moment. When he spoke again, his voice was filled with something Veltar had never heard from a military commander before. Pride in his allies. All ships, maintain positions. We finished this together. What happened next would be talked about in military academies for centuries. The combined fleet, outnumbered 3-1, stood its ground against the Devourer swarm. Human tactical brilliance combined with Council. Determination created something greater than the sum of its parts. Zenthari, battlecruisers provided heavy firepower, while human fighters stripped away the Devourer's defenses. Mollusk carriers launched wave after wave of evacuation shuttles under the protection of Crystalline Federation shields. Ethereal collective energy weapons disrupted Devourer communications, while human destroyers exploited the confusion. Final evacuation shuttle away, came the report. All 12 billion civilians successfully evacuated. A cheer went up from every ship in the fleet. They had done it. They had saved everyone, but the battle wasn't over. The Devourers, enraged by their failure, pressed their attack with desperate fury. The fighting became fierce and brutal. Soul's Thunder taking heavy damage, reported Captain Hyunwoo. Hull breach on Deck 7. Zenthari. Cruiser Proud Wind is losing power, added another. Voice Crystalline Destroyer Crystal Song, requesting immediate assistance. Ships throughout the fleet were taking damage, but they held their positions. No one retreated. No one abandoned their allies. Then something extraordinary happened. The Devourers began to withdraw. For the first time in recorded history, the biomechanical swarm was retreating. They had failed to consume a world, failed to harvest its resources, and lost dozens of their own ships in the process. Devourer fleet is jumping to hyperspace, reported the sensor operator, disbelief clear in his voice. As the last enemy ship vanished, silence fell over the combined fleet. Then slowly cheering began. It started from the human ships and spread to every vessel in the fleet. All ships, this is Admiral Wansik, came the announcement. Mission accomplished. Outstanding work, everyone. In the weeks that followed, the alliance grew stronger. More species joined as word spread about the victory at Kepler 438. Human tactical advisors worked with Council military leaders to develop new strategies. Joint training exercises became common as former enemies learned to fight side by side. Veltar often returned to the observation deck at Nexus Prime to watch the mixed fleets departing on patrol missions. Human ships flying alongside alien vessels had become a normal sight. Captain Hyunwoo stopped by the station frequently, usually accompanied by Nari and Tai Min. They had become unofficial ambassadors, bridging the gap between humanity and the Council species. Ambassador Veltar, Hyunwoo said during one visit, I wanted to thank you for your support during that first meeting. Veltar looked at the human captain with respect. Captain, I should be thanking you. You've shown us what we could accomplish when we work together. Through the observation windows, they watched a joint patrol preparing to depart. Human destroyers flew in formation with Council frigates, their crews working together as naturally as if they had always been allies. 50 years ago, we were enemies, Hyunwoo observed. Today, we're friends. Tomorrow, who knows? Maybe we'll be family? Veltar smiled. The galaxy was a dangerous place, filled with threats like the Devourers, but it was also filled with hope, courage, and the possibility of species coming together to face those threats as one. The humans had arrived suddenly and stunned the Galactic Council, but their greatest gift wasn't their technology or their military skills. It was their belief that former enemies could become trusted allies, and that together, anyone could overcome any challenge. Looking out at the stars, Veltar knew the galaxy would never be the same. And for the first time in centuries, that felt like a wonderful thing.